Hello, hello, hello. Welcome for another episode of Market Leader Live, a special edition for the Author Spotlight. We have on Dr. Greg Reid in the building. Say hello to the people, Dr. Greg.
Hello, and thank you for having me on with the people.
Awesome, man. We're excited to have you on. I don't want to hold anybody back. This man has so many books. I get lost in the sauce when we're talking about it. Well, we're bringing him on here because, for one, I'm having a groupie moment because this is someone who I've been following his work. I love who he is too, especially as a father. The things that he's been able to do for us as entrepreneurs with his health. And, that's why we have this particular show, The Market Leaders, because it's more than just one thing that leads to the other opportunities for you, whether it's in life and business. They're all together. It's symbiotic flows going on, regardless if it's your business or your life, it all runs together. So I just had to have you on, man, because more than ever in the time that we're in, those who are looking at doing books or being entrepreneurs, I want you to share a little bit from the perspective from like the 3 feet from goal, if you don't mind. It doesn't have to be just that, but just your own experience of how you've been able to, for one, create content on the level that you've been able to create it, but at the same time, keep getting up with a new perspective instead of just throwing in the towel.
Yeah, well, that's a whole lot of stuff that we began with. So God bless you. I appreciate it. And for those of you who aren't familiar with my work, my name is Greg. I'm here in San Diego, California. I've been published in over 100 books, 45 different languages. I always have at least 4 or 5 titles at Barnes & Noble on the bookshelves and at the airports all around the world. And it's really interesting because I am probably the least qualified guy you've ever met in your life to be a best-selling author. I can't read, write, spell. I'm dyslexic. Play me words with friends. You'll win every time. So I learned a valuable tool. You work your strengths and you hire your weaknesses. And you and I were talking offline. It's really interesting. People come up all the time. I bet to you. And they say the same thing. Goes, I got this idea for a book. I've been working on it for 5 years. I want to write it. And I go, stop. I go, don't do it. And they go, what? I go, no. Get someone to help you do it. If you were a great writer, you would have had it done. So what you do is work your strengths and hire your weaknesses. Get a ghostwriter, get a copy editor, surround yourself with people that are experts, and then allow them to take your words and come out and breathe life to inspire many.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we thank you so much for sharing that. Definitely. Let's listen to the good doctor on here today or whatnot. If he's done this much, please listen to what he's sharing with you. We know what we do is self-publishing 30 days with assisting people when it comes to the ghostwriting process. And I can't tell you, you see people make these mistakes or whatnot, that it makes you cringe. Greg, I just seen a young lady. Just look at the ghostwriting process. But I seen a young lady just not too long ago, bought 10,000 books and only had 150 pre-ordered. Not having the right counsel. So yes, we're talking about ghostwriting, but in other areas of your life, where are you not getting the right help or the right assistance, and you letting ego and pride get in the way that's limiting you from reaching your full potential and getting that done?
All right. So that goes to 3 feet from gold. You seek counsel and not opinion. Counsel's based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People have paved the way, where opinions based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, or inexperience. If you go to a family friend and say you're going to write a best-selling book, they might talk you out of it to protect you, to keep you safe, because they know you got a D in English, right? Plus, they've never written a best-selling book. But if I go to Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup, he's going to say, Greg, sit down. Here's what you need to know. And give me the blueprint based on his wisdom, knowledge, and mentorship. If we would spend our activity only seeking counsel and ignoring people's opinion, that's the day our lives would change. And a lot of people don't understand this, but every year, there's about 968,000 books published each and every year. And out of that, 99.4% sell about 100 copies or less, because that's all your family and friends will buy, right? And so it's very important to be armed with all the information so you can make the right decisions in the right order. But that goes towards everything in life. If you're going to start a yogurt shop, surround yourself with someone who's kicking tail in the yogurt business and ask them for guidance. Don't ask your Uncle Louie, who's a welder. Go to somebody who knows what they're doing. Duplicate it for yourself, and you can have the same results.
Yeah, you're right about that, Greg. And, I want to bring this up, too, because this is something that I've noticed, whether it's Miss Missy Purdue that we had an opportunity to interview, was Mark Victor Hansen that we had an opportunity to interview. Some of the thing about these high performers as yourself, Greg, that I noticed, just like the book 3 Feet from Gold, it's not for those who just think it's the woo-woo and that it's a lie. I'm here to tell you, I'm not gaining anything by telling you something. I didn't get paid to say this. every person that I've been able to meet, they're looking at ways to serve me or somebody else in the room that I know. Every single time. This is like going to Chick-fil-A and you're hearing it, it's my pleasure or whatnot. I mean, every single time, Greg, we got to speak. I know some people think it's a joke. They're like, oh, yeah, it's easy for them to say, yeah, they got money or they got certain type of success. But I'm seeing the things that the common denominator when it comes to success with these high performing individuals of the willingness to serve. Greg, what can our audience take from that? Or
okay, so I have a different spin on that one. I might be 100% correct.
Okay.
I'm going to plus it and say, because they also understood the power, like Les Brown always talks about, you got to feed your own cup first and then feed the world with what flows over. And fortunately, a lot of these people were selfish and they made sure that their foundation was so strong that they built this foundation and legacy that they can go over and inspire others. You cannot give from an empty bag. So sometimes what we need to do is really focus on filling that cup so full and not giving everything we have so we can create that thing. Look, you cannot be smoking a cigarette or cigar and say, hey, son, don't smoke, right? Because it's counterintuitive. A broke person can't tell someone else how to be rich. An alcoholic can't tell you how to get sober. So it's very important to make sure that foundationally that we work on our house and keep it as clean as we can, so then we can be of service to other people the highest way possible. And then back to your other thing about, Chick-fil-A. It's so funny. Truett Cathy is in 3 Feet from Gold. You keep subconsciously or, consciously bringing these up. So thank you very much. I remember when I was interviewing him, I go, Truett, his name's Truett Cathy. I go, I want to be a billionaire like you. What do I do? And he goes, Greg, stop planning. I go, what? That goes against everything I ever learned. He goes, well, last year you had a lot of plans. I go, yeah. He goes, how'd that work out for you? Everyone watching this right now, last year you had a lot of plans for 2020. How'd that go for you, right? He goes, the secret is to look for and capitalize on unexpected opportunity. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, if I'm on my sofa and I want to get to the end of the street, that's my goal. I have to have stickability that I won't quit, but I'm going to look for opportunity along the way. He goes, every planner is going to plan where they stop, take a break, the sprinkler comes on, they run back home. He goes, I'm keeping my eyes open. Did a kid leave a skateboard or a bicycle out to make my journey shorter? He goes, if I get lucky, I'll wave down a neighbor driving by and hitch a ride to the end of the street. He says, either way, I'll get to my goal. Like all great leaders, I'm just not so caught up in exactly how it has to happen. And that's the trait that I have seen the greatest success people, they have in common.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, when you look at that, Greg, just to for those who are listening, just what we've been able to do, even with this company itself. I tell people, I didn't come up with the idea for the publishing company that we have, and some of the things that have happened. Just like what you just gave that example for in 3 Feet from Gold, it was the same example. I'm thinking like, hey, Les Brown getting a little bit older at the time. I'm thinking, hey, man, somebody got to take the spot. So you got to be hungry. So I thought I was going to be hungry, man. I was practicing in the mirror, man. I'm going to do the keynote, do the whole thing, in which we were able to do that. But then I had the opportunity where I had another mentor share, hey, Darren, if someone asks you something 3 times, create a product. So I kept hearing individuals saying, it's great about your book, but I have a story that I want to share. And so it's like that skateboard analogy or whatnot, or that example, and continue to move forward. And then it has spun into other areas as well, whether it's consulting, whether it's helping people in a myriad of ways, but it's just being open to opportunities. I want to bring this up. A previous interview,
I just took a note from you. That's a rare read that I do that in the middle of a call. That was awesome, buddy. I love that attitude, and it's true. Look, what's common sense to you is genius to someone else. It's so interesting. Bob Proctor taught me a great lesson, and I don't think I've ever shared this on a public interview ever. But he sat me down and he says, Greg, he goes, the secret to this industry is to find a way to get paid money to do something you're already going to do. And it's so simple. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, like when The Secret came out, everyone wanted to have dinner with me. So I started charging people a lot of money to have dinner with me. And he goes, right outside the door, there'd be people lined up, 10 people. The door would open at 8 o'clock. They'd come into my library, cruise around there. At 8:30, we'd sit down and eat. 9:30, we're done. Go back to the library. I do a 30-minute talk. By 10:01, they're out the door. I go to bed watching Letterman. I just made my income. And I went, So what's common sense to you is genius to somebody else. So what could we get paid to do that we're already doing that seems commonplace to us? So that's pretty genius.
Oh man, awesome, man. You heard it here first. He said it. I didn't. I'm just giving a hard time. My wife might say something else. I'm just kidding. But anyway, Greg, I just wanted to bring it up. I saw this on a previous interview that you had done or whatnot. And I want to bring this to our audience of the importance of the strategy of how you shared what you learned in, I think, around 07, 08 or 08, 09 time frame of how you realized about positioning yourself to take advantage of some other opportunities, whether it be in real estate, creating residual income. You learned from that. You didn't pout and cry. You said, no, I'm going to get better. I'm going to be better positioned. So when those opportunities, going back to what we just talked about, when those opportunities present themselves, I'll be able to take advantage of that. Can you speak to our audience about that? The importance of, even if they're not prepared in this season during the pandemic, how they can learn from this, grow, and be positioned for the next opportunity that might come their way, that will come their way.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's a term, and I own the domain, and I'm writing a book called right now, Be Kind to Your Future Self. What can you do to be kind to your future self? Look, a quarterback in football never throws a football where a wide receiver's standing. They throw it downfield and let him run to it. Right now, what can you see that's coming in the future that you can start planning for today? And people go, well, it's a complicated thing. I go, no, think about it. Let's say for Christmas season coming up, you want a shoebox full of money so you can buy, presents for the kids or whatever. Well, today, go get a shoebox and put 20 bucks in. That's it. And then in 2 days from now, go put 20 bucks in. And if you do that every other day, come Christmas, you'll have a shoebox full of money. It's that simple. Look, if you want to be, 20 pounds lighter, for our wedding coming up, that means we put the cheeseburger and the Haagen-Dazs down, right? What we need is a goal, a destination, so we have something to shoot for. The easiest way to hit a goal is to have a goal to hit. And unfortunately, most people don't give themselves clarity of what it is that they want and desire. And then they're lost along the way, feeling like they're not accomplishing anything. So it's very interesting to give yourself a marker. Look, if I had a bow and arrow and started flinging in the air, I can go, hey, look, I'm great at archery. But if I give myself that bullseye, I know exactly if I'm on track or not. The easiest way to hit a goal, have a goal to hit.
Wise lesson. It's the common things. But as my grandmother would say, bless her soul, common sense isn't so common with a Southern vernacular. And that's something that we want to pick up on and learn. How can we grow from the situations that we're dealing with right now, instead of finding a reason to feel entitled or feel like that somebody owes us or think that we're being mistreated? No, let me learn from this. What are the lessons? How did I put myself in this position? And how did I grow from it?
So okay, and this is, again, you and I are going to get in a battle on this one. I think we're good on that. I disagree with you, bro, because everybody is taking accountability and responsibility and looking back and what I could do. Forget about that for just 5 seconds. What if we start looking forward and going, hey, you know what? There's 10 things that go on in our life. 8 of them are kicking tail. They're going great. 1 of them, and 1 of them suck. But we only focus on the suck or the We don't give ourselves enough credit for the good stuff. So I think we need to flip that. I think we need to start going, you know what? I paid rent last month. Hey, you know what? The kids are going back to school. Hey, you know what? I just got through a pandemic. Hey, think about it. If you got in baseball and every time you got to the plate, you hit a home run, you'd be pretty confident when you got to the plate. Right now, we should feel the same way. We have made it through 100% of every challenge we've been addressed so far. We're at 100% success rate. 100%. So if that's the case, shouldn't we be excited when these things happen because we see the next? And people can say, well, I don't know what's coming next, or I don't think. Let me help you out. I'll give you a crystal ball. 1, I'm going to give my first ever semi-financial guidance. And this is based just on my own, viewpoint, but it's for whatever, credit. Right now, everyone should be focusing on credit. Look, if you got a bad credit score, don't worry about it. Stop hiding. Everyone's got a bad credit score. This is the time that you start working and building that up today. You go on to your credit bureaus and you start looking things that might be out of queue or they're incorrect, and you start disputing that stuff. Start today, because it might take 6 months for that to get to the best thing that it can, but promise you, in 6 months from now, credit will be gold, because people aren't realizing that, last month, 30 some odd % of people didn't pay their rent. and 28% of people didn't make their car payments, and it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So you're going to see a tidal wave of things going different next year, and there'll be so many opportunities. The people that are loaded up with good credit and a little bit of cash will be having a gold mine on their hands. So start thinking what you can do to be kind to your future self. But I'm giving you the little insight now. That's the first step you can take.
Love it, love it. I totally agree with you on that, Greg. Staying focused on the positive or whatnot and seeing what happened or whatnot. And you know, Greg, I know people want to know this. I'm just going to be flat out. What keeps you going, man? So you did a ton of books. Why keep writing?
To stay relevant. It's kind of like, Britney Spears having a hit song back in the day, and then, you're relegated to being a memory. And to me, I like to be on the forefront. And again, I'm gonna be quite frank, I don't write books. I've got amazing ghostwriters and editors and copy editors that help me write books. So I'll give you an example. I'll say, I'm gonna write a book today, and I call my ghostwriter and I say, a boy wants a bicycle, so he gets an entrepreneur bug, and he takes his dad's lawnmower and he mows a neighbor's lawn, makes $10, does it all the neighbor's lawn, and next thing you know, he's got a bike. And then they'll take it and say, it was a glorious Sunday afternoon when a young bright-eyed lad caught the entrepreneurial spirit as he went outside, right? And they make it sound that way. So it's my message, it's my word, but I'm not caught up to the biggest trap. And the biggest thing will hold authors back is they say, it's got to be my voice, or it's got to be, all this stuff. Then you're done. Don't even do it. That's all I got to say. Don't even do it. Because the real reality is, for like books that I do and my friends, well, when they go to the big New York Times publishers, well, as soon as they give you an advance and they buy the rights to it, their people are going to rechange it anyway. So no matter how perfect you've done everything, it's going to be adjusted. So make sure that you get the message out the very best way you can. I did a little thing today, right before this call. It was about the power between detachment and non-attachment. I live my life non-attached, and it works like this. Detached means you don't give a crap. That's not a good way to live your life. It's not very positive. Non-attached means, no, I go all in, 110%, every single thing I do, but I'm not attached to the outcome. So, I spent 6 years making a major motion picture. We hit the ballot for the Oscars. We're trending worldwide on Netflix. I didn't know that happened, but I went all in, and then I left it to the universe. It's the same thing with the books I do. So what I do is I give every single thing I can, but I'm not attached to the exact outcome. And that gives me the freedom to move on to the next one without getting hung up whether it was success or not.
I love that. I love that analogy. And also, for those who listen, what I share on the show is it's not about perfection. It's about progression.
Oh,
so if you can stay focused on progression instead of perfection, that will allow for us to be able to give ourselves and celebrate those micro wins. And that's the compound effect that allows for you to be able to continue to soar and go to higher heights and new levels by understanding that it's about progression, not perfection. I see so many people that don't even get out the gate, that never even start the race because they're overthinking the process. And then while they're overthinking, somebody who's sitting over there who's like you said, is not really worried about it. It's like, hey, what's the worst that can happen? I just want to get it out. I want to help someone. So whoever you are, make sure that you share it. I think I wanted to share this part to you as well, Greg, of the importance of, I remember the first book that I had, and I was, like, hey, I'm going to put it out anyway, regardless. I need to do it. I had a mentor share with me, hey, you need to do this to position yourself. But I put it out, but I had a young lady reach out to me and shared how it touched her heart. She had, twin boys in the first grade, had a son dealing with autism around the 7th grade, was going through a divorce and was a non-traditional student, but it helped her. She got a 2-year ride to a private university and graduated valedictorian in her class. And she asked because she used an excerpt from the book for the commencement speech. And so here I am thinking like, wow, all the limited thoughts. Like I said, I'm not the Darren that I am now. Like I brought up earlier, it's about progression and whatnot, not perfection. So it was just amazing to me. And I never did change the cover. I never did change anything on that book because it was cropped and all that right there, because I realized it's about getting started wherever you are.
I got to go with you. It's kind of funny because when we get into the act of personal development and growth, we always say, if I can impact one person's life, and then instantly you do that and go, that was it. Okay, wait, I got to change my goals, right? You got to start thinking bigger and looking from a different paradigm. When I did my first book, again, I'm going to go back to my earliest statement. I cannot read, I cannot write, I'm dyslexic, can't spell. So my first book, it was called The Millionaire Mentor. And I sent 8 query letters. A query letter says who you are, what's your message, why an expert, who's going to read your book. I sent 8 out every single day. And then I'd always get 8 rejections back. I had 268 rejections in a row. In fact, I got them all upstairs in a thing. I plastered them all over to keep them. And I use it as my inspiration. And the 269th publisher said, we'll do your book. All we want you to do is change the title, the beginning, the middle, and the end part. So I took their counsel. I got my first ghostwriter. She recrafted it. And it went on to become a phenomenon. I mean, it went on to, I think, 9 languages, instant language. I mean, it sold gadillions of copies only because I wouldn't quit. And the whole thing is this. If we live in a state of fear, we won't get it done. And Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, the biggest chapter was called The 6 Ghosts of Fear. And he talked about the fear of old age, fear of loss of love, fear of, poverty. I don't think that's today's fear. I think the fear is the fear of pain, fear of loss. And the biggest one is the fear of judgment. There's a bumper sticker that says, what would you do if you couldn't fail? Forget about it. What would you do if you stopped worrying about what people thought? Would you start that business? Would you write that book? Would you make that move? What would you do different? And the funny thing is, no one's thinking about you. They're dealing with their own situations. If there was ever a time that God granted for people to get something done, is right now. No one's looking in your window. I guarantee it. This is the time to get started. So if you've been sitting on that idea for a book, trust me, get with this cat right here and take it from your head and separate yourself from the people that just dream of success to the top 5% who actually do it.
Ooh, man, nothing but fire from my man, Dr. Greg. Well, Greg, I want to be respectful of your time, but I also want people to be able to connect with you. So what if it's purchasing books, if it's programs, if it's consulting, whatever you have that's available, we will make sure that information is in the show notes. But please share with our audience how they can connect with you.
Well, as you know, I'm not here to sell anything. You and I are just buddies. We met online. We're chatting, chit-chatting, supporting one another. That's it. People that actually would like to have a conversation, go to Instagram, direct message me. That's how everyone's connecting nowadays. No filter, doesn't go through my receptionist. It goes right to me, Greg S. Reid on Instagram, and say, hey, man, what book should I read? Or, I'm going through this business crisis. Now, if you ask me about the weather, what you ate for dinner, your kid's puppy, I'm not going to get back to you, I promise you. But if you sit there and give me something that's direct to the point, and I promise I will. Now, I say that as a segue is this. This is the thing that's holding people back. Humans are so accessible right now more than ever before, and we're afraid of not reaching out. And we can. And the way we do it, have access, is called specificity. Let me give you an example. If I got off stage and there was 10,000 people and there's a giant line of people that want to meet you and, do all this stuff, it's really cool, but they keep saying the same thing, which is so nice. What you began this conversation with, how can I help you? How can I be of service? How can I work with you? That's a challenge. You know why? Because I don't know you. And I don't have 30 minutes to do a resume check. On the same note, specificity. If someone came up to me and said, dude, love your presentation. By the way, went on your Instagram. You have 500,000 followers. Dig your memes. That's what I do. Let me make one for you for free. I'll send it to your phone. In 15 seconds, I know who you are, what your next at, and you got my cell phone. That is the way you do it. People need to start stepping up and doing that, and everything will start changing.
Game changer, game changer. Well, thank you, Dr. Greg, for coming on. Like you said, I totally understand that, man. I agree with everything that you shared on here today. And what he just brought up, here he is on the show. I mean, if we wouldn't have asked, he wouldn't have been on the show. If we weren't able to say, hey, man, I follow you, I like your stuff, it wasn't nothing extra about it. I didn't try to say, hey, man, I can do a funnel for you. I can do this. No, bro, I like what you do. Your books have helped change my life, shape me. Matter of fact, I got to give a shout out on this right here because like my mom is on like the 7th or 10th time. I turned her on to the audio book. She said, make sure that you tell him how that has touched my life. I pass it on to coaching class. But my mom, more than anything, I told her I was interviewing you. She was just hollering at the house or whatnot, doing the whole thing or whatnot. So I got to give a shout out to my mama on here or whatnot. Like, I'm saying.
And do me a favor, DM me her name and her address, and I'll autograph the newest copy and I'll mail it to her.
Oh, wow, man. Thanks so much, man. Nothing but kudos. She's going to be excited about that. Christmas is coming early, Mom.
There it is.
Yeah, so that's it. So we want to be respectful of your time. Remember, connect with him at Greg S. Reid on Instagram or whatnot. Greg, thank you so much for coming on to the show, man. We thank God for you, man.
Absolutely. Is there a possible that I could share one last aha that I've got for this late list?
Man, please, please.
Okay. So listen, I did this book about 3 years ago. It's called Wealth Made Easy. And I interviewed people worth $100 million to $1 billion. And I had one of the greatest epiphanies I've ever had in my life. And I'm going to end on this one so everyone know that I'll be leaving after this. But it comes down to a simple little thing called CPC. CPC. It's an acronym that stands for clues, patterns, choices. If people start following this, your entire existence will adjust in a positive way. And it works like this: accountability and responsibility for things that happen. We got to stop blaming other people, like you were saying earlier, and also understand that it's our fault. So CPC works like this. I'm a single guy. So if I go out on a first date and the woman's 20 minutes late, that's a clue. If I go on the third, fourth, fifth date, she's 20 minutes late each time, that forms a pattern. Now it's my choice whether I deal with it, adjust it, break up with it. It's not her fault though. She's just late. Stop trying to change people. But what happens, we see someone with a bad reputation in business. They'll cheat your best friend. You do business, things don't go good, and we're mad at that person. You saw the clue, you saw the pattern, you made the choice. Suck it up, sucker fish. It's the same thing as seeing a rattlesnake rattle, bite your kid's sister. You go to pet the snake and get bit, and you're mad at the snake. It's about accountability and responsibility and paying attention to those clues, to those patterns, and start making better decisions and choices. And I promise everything will start going your way.
Boom. Another value bomb out there, man. Drop the mic, Dr. Greg. Hey, for those who want to connect, I shared the information. It'll be in the show notes. Until next time, if you won't change, be the change. Be blessed and be great.